All right. I left my iPad at school, so this is going to be a little hard since you won't be able to see writing, but hopefully you can see like my cursor. So this is just the same thing I would go over with you in class. So hopefully for the defining the problem, you recognize that energy can't be lost. It's only transferred, right? So if the first object releases negative 15,000 joules of heat, the second object would have to absorb positive 15,000 joules of heat. Remember, it's negative when it's released, positive when it's absorbed. In order to solve this, you would have used the law of conservation. The known specific heat of brass is, I believe, 0.38 joules per gram Kelvin or joules per gram degrees Celsius. Just as a note, because I've noticed this on some people's when they come and see me, remember, this all to us is under the dividing line. So it's not joules over grams, and then that's all multiplied by Kelvin or degrees Celsius. In the denominator is grams and Kelvin or degrees Celsius. And for these, you can just interchange Kelvin and degrees Celsius. So you don't need to actually be doing any conversion of your temperature. It's only and the reason why that is because a degree change in Kelvin is a degree change in Celsius. So they move in the same way. So that's why we don't have to worry about doing any conversions with this. All right. So you collected your data. For finding the mass of the water in the calorimeter, you should have done the mass of the water and the mass of the calorimeter and water as subtracted that from just the mass of the calorimeter. Remember, and you need to do all your analysis twice for each trial. For determining the temperature change of the calorimeter, you're going to use the final temperature of the calorimeter and the initial temperature of the calorimeter. For calculating the heat gained by water using the given specific heat of water. So this is the specific heat of water, and then you're going to use that Cp, and remember the equation is Cp equals Q over the change in temperature times mass. So you're going to rearrange that to get Q is equal to Cp times the change in temperature times mass. So this is your Cp, your specific heat of water. You're going to use the change in temperature you found in number 2 and the mass you found in number 1. Again, everything's done twice for both one for each trial. For the change in temperature of the metal block, I gave you a hint here, right? For the initial temperature, consider where you pulled the block out of before putting in the calorimeter. Hopefully you recognize that you would have pulled it out of the boiling water. So that would be your initial temperature. Your final temperature is also the temperature of the calorimeter. So here you're told the amount of heat gained by the water should be equal to the amount of heat lost by the metal. Use the calculated amount of heat from analysis 3 to determine the specific heat of the metal block. So what this means is your Q that you're using here to find the specific heat is going to be the same value, but the opposite sign. So you want to use a negative sign because the heat was released as your the amount of heat you calculated in step 3 here. Also keep in mind, this is all about the metal block. So the change in temperature you want to use is for the metal block. The mass you want to use is for the metal block. So that's what you're using to calculate this. For your absolute and percent errors, remember for absolute error, it's your value minus the known value. So you would use your value from the hypothesis as the known value. Your value is what you'd find in number 5. Again, do this twice. And absolute error, it's an absolute value calculation. So it doesn't matter if it's positive or negative. For the percentage error, so you do the absolute error. And then divide it by the known value, so again, what you found in your hypothesis, and multiply by 100. You get to plug everything in here to get some nice 2 points. So, on to the conclusion. In your own words and in past tense, third person and personal, state what was being investigated in this lab. So this is kind of similar to before, right? You might want to look at the question of the lab and the purpose of the lab in order to write a statement of what you were looking for. All right. For number 2, using the results of the investigation, make a claim to answer the question of the lab. Be sure when you make this claim that you compare your results to the hypothesis, discuss any background information you used in order to answer the question of the lab and evaluate the quality of your results by using the measured errors. So in this, things I'm looking for that you state what the calculated specific heat of brass is. What does it mean to have a specific heat? What is that telling us? Comparing that specific heat to the known value, and then using that then to discuss the errors. So, right, you don't want to just, and also remember, anytime you put numbers down, be sure you have units, otherwise the numbers are meaningless. And then evaluating the investigation's design. Again, be sure to discuss a problem within the investigation's design, the effect it would have on the results, and then design a solution to remove that problem. So things that are not errors or design errors. Your scale is not going to be counted as an investigative design error because that's an instrument. Same thing with the thermometer. Your thermometer is not an investigative design error. That would be, if there's a problem with it, that would be an instrumental error. Things to consider with this is the main thing in this lab, right, is we boiled a metal block and then we transferred it to the calorimeter. What could be going along with that transfer? What could be delaying, what could remove some of that heat of the metal block before you put it in the calorimeter? So things of that to consider. If you have a very large percent error, so by very large, I mean like over 100%, consider the shape of the brass bolt that you're using. All right, that's it.